Welcome to SoulWhat, a Soultopia production. Every Tuesday, Michelle and Roger Welch take a deep dive into the intriguing and proactive world of metaphysics, a world beyond our human perception. They'll talk to empaths, readers, and other guests from all walks of life to find out what's hiding under the surface, uncover the mysteries of our modern world, and reveal the answers you need to live a happy, healthier life. Now, here's your hosts, Michelle and Roger Welch.
Well, hello. How is everyone doing tonight?
Hey, good.
How are you doing tonight, Matt?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Matt's our producer, everyone, if you are new to the show. And we have a very special guest with us tonight. I'm excited to read her bio to you and then get right into a lot of questions. And I want you to know I have your book, one of your books on my little phone here that I read. So that's why I read it the last minute. I grabbed it. I was like, wait, no, I read it on the phone. All right. Dr. Can is a doctor of light medicine. And that is her trademark. I mean, we'll talk about that. That's trademarked. A #1 international best-selling author, visionary, and pioneer in the fields of healing, consciousness, and spirituality. Her mission is to empower spiritually conscious people to harness their intuitive healing and manifesting superpowers so that they can reach their highest vibration and help anchor in a brand new reality of love, joy, peace, and harmony for all. As the founder of the Academy of Light Medicine, Dr. Karen, and I believe you go by Dr. Karen, and we can ask her about that, teaches students her 3-step, and I'm going to have to ask her this. It's Tolpakan, Tolpakan. I'm going to have to ask about that healing method, TKH, which involves aligning with the source of divine wisdom, asking quality questions through divine muscle testing, and activating high vibrational healing frequencies. She is like Yoda from Star Wars, training you to be a self-healing Jedi master. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on your show. It's an honor.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you. Do you go by Dr. Karen? Is that what people call you?
Yeah, I don't know how that started, but it started Dr. Karen, and I think there was a lot of Karens in my Little Lake Placid. So many that, and my skating coach, one of them was Karen. So to differentiate them all, people started calling us Coach Karen, Dr. Karen, and so-and-so Karen.
Yeah.
I think that's how it stuck.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, it's a good name. Tell me a little bit, because I messed it up a little bit. And we'll probably get into this, but your 3-step, how do you pronounce that? That TOLP is.
You did perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, most people mispronounce it, which is completely fine as well. Yeah. It's Tolpakan.
Tolpakan.
And because Can's my last name. So
I get it.
The angels that I talked to insisted that I put my name in it because I was very resistant. And so yes, it has my name in it.
And you know what? I should have caught on to that, but I didn't until just now. So that's really interesting. I was interested very much as I read through your book, because I too have a book, The Magic of Connection, that came out in January, and there's a lot of things we talk about that are the same. You take it from I loved right at the beginning, you started giving facts and statistics and things that really caught me right at the very beginning of the book, and I went more into kind of what I have experienced through so many people walking through the doors of my store with what I call empathy or being empaths, and how we take that to the next level and we don't just get stuck in blaming empathy for everything. So mine's that a little approach to it. But I really liked at the beginning. And is this in this book, and give me 1 second here. Is this your most recent book, Dr. Karen? Sensitivity is Your Superpower? Is that your most recent book?
Yes, actually, it's interesting because in that year, I ended up releasing 3 books. It just happened, I was invited to do some compilation books, and we're very passionate about, working together. So I ended up, that was the 3rd in that series in 2020.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but this is my big book, meaning that this is the book that is just me, a solo author, and I've had another best-selling book called Guide to Healing Chronic Pain, a Holistic Approach. And that was talking about my recovery from fibromyalgia, autoimmune disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, and the work that I did with my patients, kind of like body, mind, soul tools. But the sensitivities or superpower is a lot more esoteric, if you will, more of the stuff that you guys talk about all the time, more spiritual about how people who are highly sensitive, and that's a third of us, right? Like that's, and the stats show that's a third of us, don't have to suffer from their sensitivity. They can actually use it as a superpower, so they can heal themselves, connect to their intuition, and actually create a new reality, which we're going to talk about a little bit today.
So interesting, because I use the superhero's journey in my book. So we are and literally we didn't read each other's books while we were writing. So that just shows me where kind of the collective consciousness thinking is going. It feels good to know that. Tell me, I'm interested a little bit about your journey on that, the first part, the chronic fatigue and that. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and your background and what you went through with all that, and then kind of how the shift came?
Sure. Thank you so much for asking. As a medical doctor, I went to med school like so many other first generation Chinese. I'm Chinese Canadian. And that was what we did. Our parents and their friends came to Canada and had children there. So I'm first generation. And it was kind of the thing you did. You kind of became some sort of professional. My parents weren't. They were teachers, employees. And they always told us growing up, don't be an employee. Be your own boss. Well, I didn't know how to do that because they didn't model that. But I thought, well, you know what? I really love science. I really love helping people. And of course, I had a big heart. So I thought, let's go into medicine, just like all my other friends did. However, I didn't realize at the time that I was one of these highly sensitive people, like my mom, a sensitive soul. And I began absorbing the emotions of other people, their pain. And even my grandmother was like that. So she would say things when I was younger, give me the pain so that my daughter or granddaughter doesn't have to have the pain, right? So I kind of learned this really bad habit, not knowing that I was doing it, was just feeling a lot. And I didn't realize that was a superpower or gift. I really didn't even know anything. I just knew I was sensitive and I got made fun of it, fun for it. My mom got made fun for it, sorry. And I just wanted to be tough. And so I just gritted my teeth through medical school, the late nights, no sleep, being extremely empathetic. And I ended up burning out in my early 30s. My mom burned out in her 40s and I burned out in her 30s. So I ended up with the fibromyalgia, pain all over the body, chronic fatigue syndrome, autoimmune disease. I had thyroid issues, and allergies, intolerances, gluten intolerance, you name it, I pretty much had it. And I actually even went so far as to be depressed and wanted to kill myself. And being a medical doctor, we know ways of doing that without getting caught. So I wanted my husband to get the insurance claim. I mean, it was that bad,
Yeah.
But thankfully, that dark night of the soul, and many of us go through that in the healing profession, was a beautiful wake-up call, because I reconnected, if you will, to the spirit within me. And just a little voice sounded like my voice, but it kept insisting that I had a choice. And I kept arguing with it that I did not have a choice. But then finally, I thought, I got so sick and tired of it saying I had a choice. I thought, well, what would I do if I had a choice? And then I ended up, deciding to get a divorce, which was very traumatic to my family, because we just didn't do that in Chinese, culture at that point. And but that was a really great, takeoff point for my healing. And then whatever I read, whatever I discovered, I started, learning Reiki, psychic gifts, found a Reiki teacher, personal transformation, went to all these workshops, and really dove in, because I made the commitment to actually heal myself and stop blaming other people and stop being a victim, and start really taking responsibility for my own health and well-being. Because at the end of the day, my big passion was helping other people. And then I knew, well, if I can't even help myself, how am I supposed to help other people? So that first book that I released in 2014, Guide to Healing Chronic Pain, was basically my journey, but also a lot of the things that I've learned and since had, added into my medical practice, a holistic medical practice, acupuncture practice, so that my patients could really transform their lives, and not just, inject a bunch of stuff or take a bunch of pills or think that they have to get older and sicker and sicker. So I healed myself of the fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, about 2 years. And, to this day, continued to grow and evolve. And it's been a really, really fun journey. So I'm just so blessed that that happened to me.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So would you say, Roger, if you just sort of took out doctor and inserted lawyer, you might have a bit of my story?
Kind of the
Yeah.
same thing
So,
going on. Yeah.
well, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just thinking that.
I mean, I'm just, the story, if you, literally, when I tell mine, you literally just put insert lawyer here.
Yep.
Insert lawyer.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Right.
I got a divorce also
Yeah.
after a lot of some of the same things you mentioned. So, yeah,
Fascinating.
thank you for
Definitely
sharing
so.
that with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
So tell us about the 3 paradigms of healing and how you kind of work that into your life with it.
Yeah, thanks for asking about that. This is a concept that I came up with as a teaching tool for my clients and for my students. And I thought, well, I did a little YouTube video on it, and I thought I'd share my screen so you could see a little bit of what I shared.
Okay.
So a lot of people, my students, were, let's just say, upset that with this whole pandemic, that they were arguing with their loved ones. They were arguing with their doctors. The doctors were saying they have to do this, but they didn't feel like they wanted to do this, and they couldn't understand why, their parent or their doctor or whoever just didn't understand what they wanted. And a lot of these folks are highly sensitive people like me who have some intuitive guidance system that says, I'm not resonating with regular medicine, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, let me find a model to help them understand what all this argument is about and maybe be a little bit more peace with what everybody's thinking. So I call it the 3 paradigms of healing. So what we all are familiar with is what we consider conventional medicine. And conventional medicine is really not actually to cure or heal anything per se, because at the end of the day, the body heals itself. We don't actually, in Western medicine, heal someone. But we actually reduce symptoms in Western medicine. How do we do that? We have medications, surgery. We cut a part out, to get rid of that gallbladder symptom. We take away the gallbladder. We have injections, and we have all these different things that we and public health has in some places mandated, right? Like the facial covering, social distancing, all these kinds of things. So it's really like that biomedical, physical model of healing, if you will. And at times we've also done some counseling, simple lifestyle counseling, in medicine. I went through medical school, so I can tell you what we did or did not learn. And I really loved the counseling piece, but I was a weirdo because not everybody did. And I did not make anywhere as much money as a lot of my other colleagues, because I would spend the time counseling, coaching, empathizing, and speaking with my patients, because that's who I was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, beyond that though, and that's what, a lot of people, that's where they're at. That's their knowledge base, including a lot of my colleagues. So, but then we have the next paradigm of healing, which is tons better in a way in terms of effectiveness. We have functional or naturopathic medicine and other, professionals like that. Their job is not just to cover up or just to, have symptoms better, but to actually reverse disease. So, sometimes people, how it is these days is I may have a medical colleague or even somebody who's not a medical colleague on Facebook or whatever and say, I'm nuts. Why do you believe that you can have natural immunity or whatever, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, my counter argument is always, okay, so you want me to listen to the rules given by TV doctors who actually haven't actually reversed disease or actually don't even take care of these types of patients, versus the doctors who are curing this and healing people and reversing disease. And there's thousands of them. So you want me to listen to someone who has never done it, that's telling me what to do, versus people who do it. So it's an easy answer, right? I'm gonna at least listen to someone who's done it before. So I'm not going to listen to somebody who says, well, do you reverse diabetes on a regular basis? Well, no. Well, why should I listen to you? Right. So in functional and naturopathic medicine, they're more along that lines of addressing the root biological, nutritional, environmental, lifestyle changes, emotional issues to some degree. And they can give biological therapies, which are and have been very, very effective. And dietary therapies, very, very effective, right? We can reverse heart disease, we can reverse diabetes, we can even reverse cancer. And of course, you can't say the big C word too often because you might get censored. And here's the thing: there is another paradigm of healing that is newer, not because it is not ancient, but because it hasn't been known to the majority of people, but is becoming more in the limelight more recently. Advantages in technology, a lot of more of us, sharing our gifts, doing healings and readings and things like that. And that's energy and light medicine. So I'm a specialist in both biological medicine and light medicine. So what's the difference between, functional naturopathic, natural medicine, and energy medicine? Well, in energy and medicine and light medicine, we're actually changing reality. We're using frequency, thought, consciousness, spirit, soul-based things. We're addressing things on many, many deeper levels that we don't even touch in functional medicine. And my goodness, I love my functional medicine and naturopathic friends. Don't get me wrong, they're amazing. And we still need that, right? Like you can't just do energy medicine and just eat candy all day long because you're still in a biological suit. And you need to treat that biological body well. But we can address things that are really, really deep with light medicine. And that's what I'm really excited about because we can do healing much faster when we look at the energetic blueprint underneath. And even in Chinese medicine, which is at least 5,000 years old, they talk about that. They talk about how the energy blueprint, if distorted, or if there's not enough energy or chi, vital force, that the person will get sick, but they won't get sick for a while. Then it might take 2 decades, 3 decades before they manifest the actual symptoms. And then biological medicine says, here, take a pill. Here's your prescription, right? But here's the thing. If our blueprints are not well and are not balanced, we will never manifest health because we're going off of a distorted blueprint. So that's where light medicine and functional medicine and conventional medicine can all kind of, interplay. For example, if somebody, is in a motor vehicle accident, you're not necessarily just going to do Reiki on them, right? I mean, It's great. Reiki's great, but, we're going to put the leg back together. So there's positives in all these. So I'm not demonizing any of these things. And for people that have that paradigm where it's just conventional medicine, that's their paradigm. We can't argue with them because if we're in the light medicine paradigm and they're only in the conventional medicine paradigm, that's all they know. It's hard to get upset. It's like having a 3-year-old go, well, why don't you understand calculus?
Yeah.
It's like no point in arguing, no point in getting upset. So I'm hoping that this is, somewhat helpful, just sharing this model.
Yeah. So, and being first generation, Chinese American, do you think, because you're talking about a lot about how the Chinese medicine being, 5,000 plus years old, is this a good a concept of maxing out your abilities through conventional medicine and the Chinese, because they use, the herbal supplements and things like that in Chinese medicine. Do you think it's a good match of balancing those two together?
Well, it's interesting because in Chinese medicine, if someone is taking Western medications, sometimes their hands are tied in terms of what they can prescribe because there are counteracting things. And that's the difference because that's still biological medicine. If you're giving an herb, you're taking your herb. Acupuncture would be more on the energetic, medicine. So herbs and supplements and things like that can interact with Western medicine, and sometimes they are, they're, interacting with each other, and it doesn't really work that well. And with light medicine, what's really interesting is that it's even more evolved in a way than Chinese medicine. I mean, there's medicine like Egyptian medicine. I mean, there's all these different types of paradigms. And my thing is whatever works, do that. So if someone is not open to what I do, because what I do, sometimes we delve into really esoteric things that come up in someone's healing session. It could be, how many souls do they have? Oh, wow, you have 7 souls and you used to be a starseed light being. And, you have a sole purpose to save the world. Oh, not just the world, but the whole universe. So there's some pretty weird stuff. So you don't really get that in Chinese medicine. But if someone says, well, I want acupuncture, and that they're dead set on getting that because they've researched it, you give them acupuncture. You don't give them what I do. But if somebody says, well, hey, you know what, and this is a lot of who I get, wow, I don't have answers. Like the doctor can't give me answers, the functional medicine can't give me answers, the acupuncturist can't give me answers, my chiropractor, my Reiki practitioner, I'm still sick. Then they come to me because then we can go a little deeper and go, well, actually, you had to, we could test divine muscle testing. I have these charts here with my Topican healing method, and we go into an alignment. So we go in alignment with source, the 0-point field. Then we start asking questions with divine muscle testing. Then we do the activation. So those are the 3 steps. So during the ask, we just use these charts and say, what's the answer? So for example, there was a young boy who was diagnosed with autism. And so we were working on some of his, emotional symptoms. And mom was kind of a healer, not professionally, but she did a lot of energy healing. And she said, I don't understand why my son will not walk through the kitchen. He looks at the kitchen, he looks scared, and he goes around it. She said, that is so weird. Like I've checked if there were entities, I tried this and that, and it didn't work, right? So I said, okay, well, let me take a look. So we did some muscle testing, and I'm not even in the house, right? We're remotely doing this. So I asked what's going on in the house, and we get to dimensional rift. It's on the chart. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So what that is literally a break in space-time. And this one was pretty long, 12 feet long, 3 feet wide, something like that. So it's literally like a cavern. And the autistic children are very, very energy sensitive. So he could sense this was not good for his body. So he refused to walk through the kitchen. So this dimensional rift, which probably has to do with alien activity, things like that. It could have even been like 5,000 years ago. I can't even remember in that case where it was, but it happened to be in the house. So we just closed it. We just sealed that rift. Next day, he walks right through the kitchen. Doesn't even think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, that's how weird and wonderful sometimes the light medicine can be. Because and the way I do it is very structured. Michelle, you guys are maybe more, clairaudient, clairvoyant, whatever. So you just kind of know, you can see the answers, right? A lot of people I work with are just pretty new to their clairs. Mm-hmm. So if I give them like a stepping stone or training wheels to learn divine muscle testing, ask yes, no questions, and they have the answers on a page, then they can get their answers much faster. And then the activation part's really quick. The healing part's really quick.
I may be going backwards here, but what's the STOIM, that part in your book? It's the feelings. Am I taking us backwards by asking you that question?
Oh, no, not at all. Actually, in fact, chapter 4, of the Sensitivities to Superpower book, it is the most important chapter in the whole book because it gets you into a state of automatic healing. And that is our first step in Topican healing method, is the align step, aligning with source and 0-point field. Okay. So it stands for stillness through observing internal movement. So STOIM for short. Okay. My students know it as STOIM. And that is a way in which we can use our bodies to feel any movement or vibration in our bodies. And when we pay attention to that, our mind, people call it the monkey mind, right? They'll blah, 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 what's for dinner? I'm worried about this, that shuts off. Why does it shut off? It doesn't shut off when you tell it to shut off. No. It says, I don't want to shut off, but it shuts off when you're telling it what else to do. So what we tell it to do is to observe any movement happening in the body. Mm-hmm. So we have 3 steps to that. And in the book, we outline it very detailed. And also have a free class on that as well. There's a lot of freebies at the end of the book in the next steps chapter. Right. So we teach people how to, move their bodies, to move the energy, and then feel the energy. And anytime you can do it, for a second at a time, 3 seconds at a time. You do not have to sit there for 40 minutes meditating. Right.
I highlighted, there's so many points where you can see on a Kindle, I still call it a Kindle, but on my phone, well, it is a Kindle app. And so it's just gotten smaller from the Kindles I used to use. But a lot of times, you can see where everyone else is highlighted in a book when you're on Kindle. Y'all know that, right? Mm-hmm. So you can see how many people have highlighted. And I'll get to a point, and I highlight a lot, and I read a lot. And there's just so many parts where other people, I realize, they've highlighted the same thing. And a lot of it is the encouraging part where you'll tell the steps like you just did, But then you'll say, here's the best part. And you grab us because so often we are anxious or in trouble and looking for a viable solution to our problem. I'm quoting from your book. We can't think straight. When we connect to stillness, the solution arises naturally in our awareness. It's almost like turning down the noise low enough so you can hear the whispers from source or your guardian angels. And of course, I'm underlining that. And then I realize, oh, so many other people have underlined the same thing. I feel like you give the steps and then you give a lot of hope. It's always like, but it's okay. And then another place you said, feel this, but don't judge it. Above that, there was a, you don't judge that what you're feeling just right now, just feel it. And I think a lot of people would, if you didn't give them that encouragement, they might jump to judging. And each step of the way, you're saying this is how you're really spelling it out, how to do the method that you propose. I feel like, yeah. So,
well, I really like doing live events, and so I've done enough of them that I know where people get a little bit tripped up sometimes. Whether that be the self-judgment piece or whatever. And I don't know about you, but I can be somewhat impatient, which means that probably being a doctor doesn't help, but I kind of want results. So if I don't get results, I don't stick with anything that well. So when I was trying to learn traditional meditation, what a funny thing to say, but anyway, when you're like sitting there for 30, 40, 60 minutes, staring at a candle, watching your breath, watching your thoughts, whatever it was, I would get bored and then I would just stop doing it after a couple of days, right? I just never stuck with it. But with the Stoem, I realized that if I just felt energy in my body, for example, I'm talking to you guys, looking at you guys, but I can feel where the energy is in my body, and I'm just observing that almost as an aside. I'm actually connected to the 0 point field. And here's the cool part is that automatic healing occurs. And I figured that out because I would do these sessions with people. You know how you do sessions, right? So I do sessions with people, and we would actually catalog, for example, we do a systems check. So we just say, okay, how happy is your detoxification system, your liver, your kidneys, your lungs, your right? And we would get a percentage out of 100% how happy it was. And normally, because I know the background and what their sickness was, we kind of expect some of these numbers to be lower. But then one day, what I realized was as we were going and along and cataloging their wellness levels, if you will, that it kept getting higher and higher. And I thought, this is strange. So I thought, well, let me ask a better question. How happy was the liver, kidney, whatever, at 10 a.m. when we started? Different number, much lower. So by the time I got to the kidneys or liver after the, 10 other things I just tested, because we were in Stoem, okay, things started automatically healing without us even doing a single healing directive. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Right. So you're already, how long would that be by the time when you notice that? Just for grant, like how long do you usually spend with one of your patients?
5 minutes.
You're going.
Yeah, it can happen really, really fast, especially if the patient or client is also in Stoem or in that 0 point field, because there is no time. I mean, time is just a construct and illusion. But here we're taking advantage of that. So if we're resonating the 0 point field and we just, the thoughts stop because we're just paying attention, to our body and the energy, that's their job while I'm talking and I'm doing the testing, then sometimes by the time we finish that one page and we finish putting all the numbers in, it's already changed from what it was before. So we can go back in time and ask, which is really cool. We can say, okay, so at such and such a time today, how happy was it? Like, for example, somebody came in first time one-on-one. I rarely do those, but it was part of a telesummit package. And I'd never seen her before. And she says, well, I didn't really notice anything happening yet with the healing MP3s you have. And I'm about halfway through the training. I said, okay, that's great. So we did that particular one was the autoimmune healing secret. So we did the whole autoimmune protocol. And as I'm testing her, I thought, this is interesting. It's actually better than I expected. So then I said, okay, well, how much autoimmunity did you have 1 month prior to starting my program? And it was high, super high, right? 9 out of 10 levels, 8 out of 10, right? And when I tested her today, it was like 5 out of 10, 4 out of 10, 3 out of 10, 0 out of 10 for, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic. So then she's like, I've been so busy. I didn't even realize that I was better. And I was
Right.
like, well, that's why I do it. That's why I check.
Right.
Because some people just are so busy, they're not in their bodies.
Right. So I say, it reminds me, Roger, the body scan. So
Mhm.
I always tell people to do that mind, body, spirit, spiritual body scan before they enter any situation. I apply it back to the sensitivity that they feel, because so many of us are quick to say, oh, well, she has negative energy, or oh, I feel this negative energy in the store. Oh, I can't go out in a crowd because everybody's in energy. So, it may not be this exactly the same, but I just say, do a quick scan, especially like before you walk in. Well, always really, like first thing in the morning, do that scan of how do I feel physically. Now, I'm not doing muscle testing, which I think would be great, like you're doing, and the specific thing, but I'm in my book, teach them the same process, right, of the body scan. Make sure that you kind of know where you're at. And then, because then when you get in that situation, if you haven't really scanned yourself and you have a headache, all of a sudden, a lot of people who are sensitives will think, well, I got a headache from the grocery store because there were too many people around me, or I'd hear that a lot in my stores. I mean, like people would come in all the time. I'm an empath, and I just can't. And I thought a big way to start taking that power back is to know what your body, what is yours, and what, managing what you have first before you're going out, managing and minding your own energy before you go out and start looking at everyone else's. And of course, a lot of times it's not about blame. It's just about, like you said, it's getting better and figuring out where you're at and knowing where you're at. Because if you don't know, if you don't have like a baseline of that in the morning,
Exactly.
then it's more, or when you go to see, Dr. Karen, I mean, it's like, it makes it a little easier if you get in the habit of every day, I think, in every
Unless you know where you started and where you're ending.
Yeah. So, and it's, for me, I'm always telling people it's a big habit that you have to get into. Like, I'll do it sometimes, and then, like you said at the very beginning, and then I'm like, okay, I'm moving on to something else. We're not doing this anymore. I get bored easily too if I don't get, but sticking with something. I had literally somebody, Dr. Karen, a friend of mine, about 3 weeks ago, and they probably would do it to me today, to tell you the truth. They started reading to me, and I was all of a sudden about 2 minutes into her reading, probably 30 seconds, I said, "Are you quoting my book to me?" She was quoting because I was complaining about something and saying, oh, and whining and telling a friend of mine that's, in this business. And all of a sudden she's reading. I was like, that's my book. Don't quote my book to me. So sometimes I don't even practice, my own book. And that's, of course, why I wrote it, because things I needed to work on. So tell us about the soul mission matrix, and you say the real reason you're here. So many people want to know, why am I here? What's my purpose? What's going, tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
Sure. And I just wanted to reiterate, that scan is absolutely perfect. It's really the same process as really getting to know you. And that's why when I am feeling a bit off or irritable or whatever, one of my first questions is, whose stuff is this? Because I know me so well, right? I feel my body inside out all the time. And I might do it for 2-3 seconds at a time, and then forget about it for an hour, and then do it for another 5 minutes, and then forget about it. And then, sometimes I'll make a commitment. I'm going to watch Captain America, and I'm going to be in Stoem as much as I can through the movie. The funny thing is, when I watch scary or exciting movies, that it's not as scary. It's like,
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, knowing yourself is really important. And as far as the soul mission goes, the way I teach, how to figure out your soul mission for this timeline is maybe different from other people. A lot of people think a soul mission is a job, as in like, I'm supposed to be a carpenter, or I'm supposed to be a healer, or I'm supposed to be a teacher. No, not necessarily. The way I've modeled it, and that's in chapter 6 in the Sensitivity is Your Superpower book, is after Dolores Cannon's work, The 3 Waves of Volunteers, where, she, before she died, and she's a very high level hypnotist, she would be seeing people and checking their past lives. She's very good at past life regression. And what she found in the last couple of years before her death was that the answers were becoming weirder and weirder. Her clients were talking about being on spaceships and being just a light being, and missing their friends who were just light beings, and they didn't have a body, and things that she never heard before, because they used to be like, hey, I used to be, a Native American back in the Geronimo days or whatever, right? And she talked about these waves of volunteers coming to Earth, incarnating as humans. They have a specific role. And so many of us sensitive souls, which is at least a third of the population, actually have souls that are not just human. In other words, we've had other lives in other species, other
Yes.
planets. Some of us are angelic. I have one of my souls that's part angelic, part star person. And these evolved souls actually come down and manifest as humans. And in the Soul Mission Matrix, we don't talk about the job that you're doing per se, but whether or not you have what Dolores calls a being mission or a doing mission or a combination. So a being mission, which is very common among the very young people, especially, is your mission is to vibrate a frequency. It could be love, it could be peace. For example, it could be joy. And that's your job. It doesn't really matter if you're the environmental engineer, aka janitor. Okay. As long as you vibrate joy, that's your mission. Now, some people get upset about that, Dolores, because they're like, yeah, but what am I going to do? Right? We're so into doing.
Right.
In this case, is being mission. Other people do have doing missions. Like I had a doing mission of protecting Mother Earth from negative forces. Now, I still do that work from time to time, but it's not part of my main mission anymore because I completed that mission. And that's the other thing people don't realize. I didn't realize that you can complete a mission before you die. Wow, mind blown. Now we have other missions.
Right.
So, and people can have doing and being missions. So we actually have a chart in chapter 6, and you can muscle test if you have a being or doing mission and which one it is and who you are supposed to be helping in this timeline. And that can give people so much more clarity.
Yeah, I see that here. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's fascinating.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What about the possibility of using frequency and vibration with healings?
Yeah, so this is that third paradigm of healing. We talked about using energy and light medicine. A lot of people have heard, they maybe not understand completely, and I'm not sure I understand completely, in terms of quantum physics, but everything is made of energy, particles, vibes, vibrations, waves, particles. And when we realize that if everything is made of energy, then we can shift energy to make a different reality. Now, in the book, we talk about a couple of different ways of doing that. Stone for masterful manifesting is you go into that stillness 0 point, way, whether it be body scan or through, the Stone method. And then you actually imagine a new reality happening, and then you feel it in the body. It's very important. The body's very important. A lot of us just don't even want to have a body, but the body's really important because that brings it into 3D reality. And so we can use these gifts of our sensitivity, our ability to feel, our ability to imagine, our ability to create a new reality. So one of the most fascinating things that I've come up with, or that I've been told, not really come up with, but I've been told is that, for example, some people are really concerned about toxicity or toxins, things sprayed in the air, things being injected, whatever, it is. Well, there is such a thing that I co-created, and people can do this. It's just they don't know they can do this, right? Because I'm a spiritual investigator. I like asking questions. So I said, okay. So I said to Source one day, I said, okay, so what happens if we don't have permission to heal the toxicity for someone, but we don't want them to be harmed, and they're allowed to be healed if they gave permission, but they're not giving permission? Like, what do we do with that, right? It's one thing for somebody to go, wow, I had a side effect or an adverse effect from an inoculation. Can you, delete the frequency of the toxin? Sure, no problem. 3 seconds, done. Okay. But it's something else if somebody does not give you permission to do that. So what can you do? So I said to Source, I'm looking down at my cell phone, and I realized I put it in this little baggie every night before I go to bed, even though it's off. It's called a Faraday cage. And that prevents any communication, EMF coming from the phone and vice versa. And I said, God, well, can I do a spiritual Faraday cage? And the answer was yes. I was like, whoa, no way. I get really excited sometimes. So I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that if I don't have permission to heal that person, I have permission to put a spiritual Faraday cage around every single toxin particle in their body so that it no longer harms them. Is that true? Yes. Now, that may not have been possible a year ago or 10 years ago, or whatever, but it's been possible for the last couple of months. So that's been really, really exciting. And Topican healing, we're sometimes creating brand new blueprints and morphic fields, meaning new blueprints for things. So now there is this blueprint. I call it the spiritual Faraday cage, right? So you can imagine this cage, around the toxin or toxins in the body, and you could have a billion of these cages that are preventing that toxin from harming that person. Maybe you don't have permission to remove the toxin because they didn't give you permission. But at least if you're allowed and have permission, you can literally, you're not healing the person, you're just putting a little bubble around, that little cage around the toxin so it doesn't harm that person as much. Yeah. So it's amazing how you can be creative in your healing with light and frequency, because everything is energy. So you can create it out of your imagination.
Right.
That's how we change the weather.
Yeah. So I was thinking you might say it, but how much did you hear everything is energy when I was writing the book? It's all through my book. And so it's making me excited to read your book again, because I read really, really fast, really quickly. It's really good. There's so much meat in here. I do have one thing about when you teach students. I'm curious, because I'm very curious about what you do. I mean, it's something maybe, many of our listeners would be interested in doing. Do they have to be a medical doctor or have that background to take your the founder of the Academy of Light, and you do your 3-step method? Is this something that you train people on, that they can use the healing, or you on other people, or are you just training them to use it on themselves? That's
a really great question. I think my passion has always been for people to heal themselves and to have that power within. Just because I'm a medical doctor definitely means I have more medical knowledge, right? But the universe works with us in whatever level of knowledge we have. So you don't need to have medical knowledge. And so my Topican Level 1 training program is a self-healing program where people can learn to, connect with divine source. We, use the stone method, and they can use whatever method they want. Then we teach them how to do the divine muscle testing using their body for yes, no answers. We teach them how to extract those answers from our 3 charts. We have the Topican Healing Guide 1, 2, and 3. 1 is negative energy that wants to be released. Number 2 has to do with positive energies that need to be downloaded or activated. And number 3 is guide 3 is more conversations with source, like what else the source wants you to know about this issue or about the symptom. So it's really giving the power back to the person, so that, because I'm only one of me, right? I mean, right. I can't do, I've done thousands and thousands of healing sessions, but I can't keep doing that. Right. It's just like, right. I'd rather teach people to do it for themselves. And that's my passion, is helping them do it for themselves. And we do have a level 2, and that is a practitioner certification program. Okay. But not a single other person is a medical doctor.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Thank you for that. Because that's really, and we'll tell everyone at the end of the show how we can get a hold of you and all those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, fascinating, very interesting.
So during a session with you, how does that look for somebody coming in? What should they expect?
Well, I love doing mini healings, and we actually have a free mini healing every single month. So usually it's the first Tuesday of the month. Usually it's at 11 a.m. in the morning, unless I'm traveling. And what we do is we people post what's going on with them or their loved one if they have permission. And we go through the Topican healing method, and I do the testing for them. And I'm very, very fast because my muscle testing is really fast. We find the answers, we do the healing. And a lot of times we're ending up doing a lot of group healing because it's relevant to so many people. For example, if we are releasing, I'll give you a recent example. So there was a series, and it's not done yet, but there's a series of electromagnetic frequency energy weapons that were shot out to harm humanity, for lack of a better term. Now, I do get a hint of that because I'll get some sort of physical symptom given that I am very clairsentient. That's my dominant clair, right, with clairvoyance is my secondary. But so I'll feel something, and then my answer is like, whose stuff is it? And what is it, right? And then I use the Topican healing to figure it out. So I figured out it was an energy weapon coming out of the ocean. And wasn't the military, it wasn't well, I shouldn't say it wasn't aliens, but it was something that was planned And I could ask how many times have they done it? What can we do? Can we delete it? And the answer was yes. Now that you know about it, yes, you can delete it. Yes, you can reverse everything they did, and yes, you can destroy their ability to do that again. So that in that way, we can do that. Now with one-on-one people, what we often start with is what's going on with you, that's bothering you. Like today we had a one-on-one with a special program, and she says, well, I have this problem, this problem, this problem. This is what's driving me nuts. I'm like, okay, let's start there. And then we just start using the Topcan healing method and, just ask what's causing or contributing to this issue or these constellation symptoms, or what's preventing it from healing. Is it in guide 1? Is it in guide 2? Is it in guide 3? And then one by one, we figure it out. For example, for this one person, she had an emotional addiction energy. And the emotional addiction energy was, I am not deserving. She's addicted to not deserving, for example. Okay. So now that we know that frequency, then we delete it. We just pull it right out of her field. And then we retest again with divine muscle testing, make sure it's gone. And then we move on to the next one, the next one, the next one. So, I don't know if you are taking live callers, but I'm happy to demonstrate how that would work.
We don't take callers, but they do chat, and Roger monitors that chat. So we can. What are you saying you're willing to demonstrate again?
If anybody has a symptom, like the easiest one is probably pain. But even if they have, a mental health symptom, something like that, something that's like 8 out of 10 in intensity or higher, so we can just see whether they notice.
Did you hear Roger? Roger said he's volunteering me. Why? Don't call me out on it.
Well, you have to volunteer yourself because.
I will volunteer myself if there's no one else, so that we don't have to wait for someone. Is there somebody?
Well, it takes a few seconds for everybody to catch up anyway, what we're talking about.
Right.
Okay, so you said something where it needs to be 8 out of 10?
Well, if somebody has a symptom, 8 out of 10, it could be, their belly hurts, or they have a pain somewhere, or they're really depressed or anxious, or feel a darkness. I mean, it could be anything.
Okay, so so pardon me for interrupting, but let's just, for time's sake, let's go ahead and do, and I'm not usually the one that raises my hand.
No, she
ever,
won't.
Ever. I let other people take turns. But let's use my neck, which an MRI has shown, I don't know why. I played competitive tennis forever. I mean, who knows? But I'm right-handed. It's on the left side. It's my neck. There's a bunch of nerves exposed, okay? And so I have gone with a little bit of with your chart, it wasn't a Venn diagram, but kind of your three levels. Conventional, I'd say, medicine, and I had an epidural twice, and they wear off in about a week. So let's use me as an example. Could we do that? And it's a 8 out of 10, and it's getting back to be about an 8.
Okay, so it's pain, and you feel it on the left-hand side, and it is about 8 out of 10, correct?
I'd say it's getting to be an 8. It'll probably be an 8. I don't want to manifest that, but it's, that level's hard for me, but I'll go with an 8. Yeah.
What is it right now? Out of 10.
I said 8, yeah. 8 out of 10.
Okay, so
8.
Okay, go ahead and move your head left and right like this and up and down, and see if it makes it worse or better, and give me another number.
It's probably still about the same. It may have actually triggered it a little bit.
Okay, yeah, because sometimes what I find is they're not moving their neck at all or back or whatever, and we do some healing work, and then they move it like crazy, and they're like, well, it's still there.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to know not moving what it was. So we got 8 out of 10. All right, so let's take a look. So I'm going to take a look at my guides, and I'm going to do my aligned piece, which I've kind of been doing anyway, because I do Stoem every time I'm talking to someone about healing, including podcasts. And then I'm going to do some checkups on my muscle testing. So we're going to go straight to source and ask what the answers are.
Okay.
And because you get permission.
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure. So I'm going to do what's called a directive. I now command to be connected in line to the one only true source now in the highest and best way, and get divine true answers for everyone today on the show. Okay, show me a yes, that's strong. Show me a no, that's weak. Good. And I'm just going to check my body. Is Karen Can G reversed or partially reversed? No. Okay. Is Karen Can G proxying or partial proxying? No. Okay. So that means this body is me, I'm here, and it's not something else. Excellent. Okay. So how many, one of my favorite, more advanced questions to begin healing, how many things are healable right now for Michelle, causing and contributing to the symptom? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 3 things. So we have 3 things that are available for healing now. Any in guide 1? Yes. Okay. So we want to know what box it's in. Column A, B, or C. I'm getting B, even or odd. Odd. Row 1, row 3. Okay, row 3 is emotional. So is it an emotional habit, addiction, conflict, or shock? Okay, so conflict shock, this is actually from German New Medicine. It's some sort of trauma, energetic trauma that happened in the past. Is it from this lifetime? I'm getting a yes. Is it from before age 10? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to count down and see what age it was. 10, 9, 8. Okay, 8. So around age 8, give or take a year, was it more of a conflict or a shock? Okay, so that was a shock. So maybe, Michelle, in the back of your mind, and if it's private, you don't have to share, but in the back of your mind, think about what happened around 7, 8, 9 that might have been a shock. It could have been a dog died, you moved, dad lost his job, whatever. It could be wanted a divorce, whatever. So it could be any of those things. So let's see, how resolved is this conflict shock from age 8, 15, 40, 30? About 32% resolved. Do we need to know more? I'm getting a no. When we get a no, we actually just direct it to be healed. So I'm going to do it the traditional way. Saving time, usually I have the client often say it with me, but I'll say it for you. And then all you do is just feel the body. Just continue feeling the body.
Okay.
And now command this conflict shock be completely resolved in the highest and best way, all directions of time with ease, speed, and grace. Thank you. So now we'll check again. Do you still have that conflict shock energy? No. Is it 100% resolved? I'm getting a yes. Okay, so before we get to the other 2 things, Michelle, go ahead and do you remember anything from that age at all in this timeline that might have been a shock? Just curious.
I do. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I want you to think about it. You don't have to share it.
Okay.
It's private. Okay, is what Michelle's thinking about, is that the shock that got resolved? Okay, I'm getting a yes. Okay, so yeah, you figured it out. Sometimes it's a no, and then, you didn't need to know, but I just wanted you to let us know if it was,
right,
something.
No, to validate that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So the cool thing is we can ask really neat questions of divine muscle testing. What percentage of what can heal today related to the symptom have we already healed? 32%. Okay, so now let's work on the other 68. Column, is it in guide 1? Yes. Okay, so that's healing balances and blocks. Column A, B, C, B, even, odd, odd, 1, 3, emotional box again. Is it an emotional habit? No. Addiction? No. Conflict shock? No. Emotional debris. Okay, so in the healing process, sometimes we have debris. So we just need to clear the debris. Is there anything else we need to know? I'm getting a no. So I'll just go ahead and do that clearing now. And again, you just pay attention to your body. So it's now commanded that all emotional debris be clean, cleared, and healed in the highest and best way, all directions of time with ease and grace. Thank you. So does Michelle still have that emotional debris? I'm getting a no. Okay, and what's the third thing that we can heal today? Is it in guide 1, guide 2, guide 3, guide 1 again? Column A, B, C, column C this time, even or odd, odd, row 1. Okay, it's actually the physical row. So does it have to do with hydration? No. Mineral levels? Yes. Okay, so how happy and balanced are your mineral levels, Michelle, right now? 50, 60, 70, 80, 71, about 71% ideal. How many different kinds of minerals are not at least 95% balanced and happy in your body? 1. Okay. Which one is out of balance? Magnesium, calcium, calcium. Okay. So calcium's out of balance. And are you absorbing calcium optimally? I'm getting a yes. That means over 95%. I'm getting a yes. Are you able to assimilate calcium? No. Okay. So how well can you assimilate calcium to where it's supposed to be in the body for optimal function? About 30% optimal. And what about utilizing the calcium? 42. Okay, so you're having a calcium problem. So do you have too little or too much? Okay, too much, relatively too much calcium, which we don't see as much, oftentimes as mineral deficiency. But so the mineral levels are less. It says the mineral levels aren't happy, but that means it's too much calcium? Yes. All right. So, okay, so you have a mineral processing issue. And are we allowed to know why you have a mineral processing issue? Yes. How long has it been since you've had any sort of calcium processing issue? More than a year? 12 years, about 12 years. And how many reasons are there that it's not at least 95% happy processing? one reason. Are we allowed to know what it is? Yes. Is it in guide 1? Yes. Is it in column A, B, B, even, odd, odd, 1, 3, 5? Spiritual. Okay. Here's the weird stuff. Okay.
That's fine.
Michelle's like, why did I
No,
volunteer?
I'm fine. It's all good.
Okay, just kidding. Is an entity attachment cord tether. Okay, entity tether. So is it from this timeline? Yes. I'll explain that in a moment. How old were you? Less than 10, 10, 10. Age 11. Okay. So it happened in age 11. Where is it? Front, side, yes. Back, no. So here. So that's my left. Okay. What C level? C1, 2. C5-ish level. It's a really common area to be a little funky. All right, so C5 is not happy. And what an entity tether is there was a dark spirit at some point at that time where your spiritual boundaries were low in that moment at age 11, was able to literally put a leash on you. Mm-hmm. Now, the entity may or may not be around, but the leash is still there. So we need to remove that. Do we need to know more? Nope. Okay, so that tether. So do we need to know more? Double check them? No. Okay. I now command that the entity tether be dissolved, deleted, and uncreated, the end sealed with love in the highest and best way, all directions of time with ease and grace. And in case whatever entity did do that, if it's not already healed to the highest level, go ahead and heal that entity and everything and everyone connected to it. Thank you so much. Okay. I'm getting a yes. Are we done? I'm getting a yes. Okay. Do you still have an entity tether there? I'm getting a no. All right, so let's have you move your neck around again. You may want to drink some water, but and just let us know. And you may or may not feel a difference yet, but
I do actually. It doesn't feel as stiff, and the shoulder doesn't feel going down, radiating down. Doesn't feel as stiff. It feels good. It feels better.
Okay, so you were at 8 out of 10. Where would you say it is now?
Isn't it funny how much I hate that 8 or 10, that scale question? But I'm working with it. I overanalyze the number thing. It feels good. It's maybe down to like a 6, a 5, maybe. I mean, it's better. I think that's a hesitancy of like, okay, if I move it a lot, will it come back? You know, again, the overanalyzing, but. Feels better.
That's okay. It's natural. If someone's in chronic pain, I know what that's like.
Yeah.
There's also a little bit of there's also a little bit of fear of it. It's going to come back. It's going to come back. Right. So you just put that intention there that anytime you do that body scan, you're in stillness, you're in the 0 point field, and whatever you don't need to know about will just automatically heal on its own. The other thing we sometimes do at the end of a formal session is we do a reset and reboot. So I'm just going to put the intention out there. I actually have some energy infused jewelry, so I'm just going to go ahead and just command it to do that for you. Go ahead and do the reset and reboot protocol for Michelle. Thank you. All right, and that's it. So that's just an example of how we go about doing that, and that's what I teach people to do for themselves.
That's cool.
Well, thank you, first of all, for doing that because it's amazing. And it's interesting about the calcium because it comes up a lot. And we probably don't have time tonight, but I have had how many kidney stones?
Thousands.
No, it's not
thousands.
thousands.
Not thousands?
In the past
Seems like
3 years, I've had maybe 21 kidney stones. And
wow.
Yeah, so it's interesting that the calcium comes up. I'm not a doctor at all, obviously, and not even close, but just intuitively, when you said that, it took me to my other issue. So I think I'll have to be calling you. Now, did I hear you say earlier that normally it's in groups, you don't take private sessions anymore? Did I hear that correctly? Are you too busy to do private sessions or because your books and all your, or do you take private sessions ever?
Well, usually I do what I I have a program called the VIP program. It's definitely a high-end program. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it does take, a lot of investment.
Right.
So I take about 5 people every quarter. That's about all I can handle.
Right.
And then we have my healing students, double can level 2 certified practitioners. We have about, I think, 6 and soon to be 7 graduates of the program. I only take a 5 per year and just started a few years ago. So maximum excellent. 5 per year. So it's not like a big, huge, like I have a plethora of healers, but we, they have to do a lot of studying because there's a lot of stuff they have to heal within themselves in order to be successful also financially. So we don't want to just have them be really good at topican healing and not be able to earn money.
Good point.
So I refer people to them as well. And, but I do take some people one-on-one. And, because I'm a medical doctor, I ask medical doctor-y kind of questions, but it doesn't mean that that's necessary.
Right.
Like you just confirm some things like the excess calcium. And it's not even so much that you have too much per se. What we got was that you didn't know like your body didn't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So anything can cause anything. So this tether was, or it was contributing to, for whatever reason, that calcium not being able to be used up in the right way. So it was just depositing places, which is not what we want.
Right. Correct. Incredible.
It is.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
cool.
glad I'm glad I stepped out and took my turn. Right. So
You're very courageous.
yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. No, thank you. So tell us any final thing. Oh,
Nope.
okay. Is there anything else that you had that I know you had your PowerPoint, anything that you didn't share that you feel is really important? Otherwise, we're going to go into where people can get a hold of you and all that kind of stuff. So anything that we didn't touch on that you just had a burning desire to tell us that you didn't get to share?
Well, the book is really for the layperson, not to necessarily do the healing method, but kind of get that basics and how to connect. Because literally, when we can align and connect to that 0 point field, the creator within, the inner wisdom, so much healing can be done just with that, like what you're calling the body scan, like so much. And we can just do it for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 seconds, 5 seconds at a time. And what I find is my life, it just unfolds very differently that way. Things automatically are there to help me. The synchronicities come, and life is just so much more fun that way. Instead of like working so hard and then not getting results or just feeling like you're pulling teeth. It's just much more ease. So I highly recommend definitely that chapter 4. And also, there's a link where you can get a free little 30-minute training on the stillness through observing internal movement for those of you that like video and like more interaction rather than just reading it in a book. And then it's amazing. So from that, chapter 4, the most important chapter in the book, the rest of the book, it really is about, figuring out how to extract your soul mission, how to deal with negative emotions through Stoem, how to create your new reality through Stoem, how to, do really cool things like weather magic, transformational telepathy, some telekinesis. I do really beginner stuff there. Doing remote healing on a doll, that represents somebody else. And even brand newbies, when we have them in a live event, whether that be online, Zoom, or in person, they're like, I don't know if I can do this. I've never been a healer, but they do it. Like they partner up and they just do it. And they're just so shocked that they can do it the very first time out. And then for people that want to go deeper, that want to actually learn the healing method, then, they can always visit my website, KarenKan.com, and look at the programs and, and even, book an interview just in case they're not sure, if it's right for them.
So just for those listening, it's Karen Kan, KAN.com. And you're on Facebook. You have your light medicine community through the website, and Telegram, MeWe, Instagram, YouTube. So as we say on here, you're in all the places. So you can find her in all the places, right?
That's right.
And do we say that? I do. You're looking at me like we don't say that.
I think you just started saying that.
In all the places, because there's so many now, right?
Found everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yeah. But one thing I want to add that I love about having you on tonight is I think it's very timely because of everything going on in the world. I'm glad you brought that up at the beginning. But also because we get a lot of calls to our store, and we've been on the news about the fact that there's so many people interested in readings, which I believe can be healings. Okay, a tarot reading can be a form of a healing for someone, but it's not exactly an energetic or light healing. It's an energetic healing, or form of healing. I think that at least what I've seen, and they're very interested in astrology, very interested in those things, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful that we have people flooding our doors, and we've been so busy, as we could be during COVID. That's wonderful. But I have said this and to people who work here. I said we're going to start back getting our energy work, because I feel like at least there's been some, and maybe not you, maybe you haven't noticed this, but I have, and maybe it starts with me, but a neglect of the energy work. It's been more, it seems like many people are like, they want a tarot reading, they want a this or that. And so I asked today or yesterday, I said, how are the energetic healings and people wanting, calling and wanting information about healings? I think that that's what we need right now. I mean, I'm not saying that we don't need a card reading or, palmistry or whatever somebody wants to do, an intuitive channeled reading, Akashic records, all of those. I think that can come into probably what you do too. You're tapping into that, but it's so important to do our work on our energy self, and like you said, and the body, and to take care of ourselves. And I'll just say that I know here that's been a neglect with a lot of people because they're not wanting that. And I think this is perfect to jumpstart me and a lot of other people back into understanding how important that is.
Exactly.
So thank you for that.
You made a really great point, Michelle, and I think I've noticed a trend as well where at least people are open, right, to what we would consider the esoteric. So that is fantastic,
right?
And such a great stride forward, of people being curious and being willing and to look beyond the physical. So that's fantastic. And then the next step is fully taking responsibility, not necessarily putting the responsibility on you or Roger or somebody else to do the reading. You tell me what to do, or you tell me, whatever, but more like, how do we figure that out for ourselves? It's still helpful. No questions. It's still helpful because sometimes just that awareness is like, oh my gosh, I get it, right? Sometimes that aha is the healing.
Right.
And other times there may be another step where we take advantage of that. And I didn't mention it before, but there is what's called SOS clearing, a chapter in the book where it gives you 6 or 7 ways of how to very simply clear and clean your energy field so that other people's stuff, including mass consciousness and things like that, don't necessarily stick to us, and so we can feel clean and clear and settled and more peaceful and centered every single day. We do brush our hair and wash our hair and go into the shower. So why do we not clean our energy field every day?
Exactly. I agree with that. It's excellent. Well, thank you so much we're up against the clock. We're a little bit over. Thank you for staying with us a little bit over, and for everybody listening. Again, the website is www.karenkan.com.
K-A-N.
Excuse me, what did I say?
K-I-N.
K-A-N.com. And in all the places you can find her. And also the book is excellent. The name of it again is Sensitivity is Your Superpower: How to Harness Your Gifts, Fulfill Your Purpose, and Create a Life of Joy, by Dr. Karen Kan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And for all your listeners, and if you get the book on Amazon or even on the website, you can put your name and email address in, and I'm more than happy to give you those $1,000 worth of gifts that you can download and take advantage of.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone, and we will see you again next week. Right, Roger?
That's right.
Okay, I think we'll be back from Santa Monica, and we'll be refreshed. No, we won't. We'll be in Santa Monica
on
filming.
Tuesday. By the way, Matt, we won't be here next Tuesday.
Okay, we'll talk about it off the air, but we will see you guys soon. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Good night.
Later.
Thanks for listening to SoulWhat, a Soultopia production. If you're intrigued, searching, or looking to schedule a reading of your very own, visit us in sunny Dallas, Texas, or visit us online at facebook.com/Soultopia Holistic Boutique. And if you like what you heard, subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcasting platform to be the first to hear new episodes every Tuesday at 7:30 Central.